Welcome back, my Ronin Renegades. I am Lupine Fiasco. This is Daily FaB gameplay, and today we are playing against Bravo, the Showstopper. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is watch replays of games that I have played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago after enough time has passed that I lose my bias of that moment and can more objectively judge the quality of my plays. I will walk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, while explaining my thought process for the lines that I would take. We compare that to what I did in the past to either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns. The reason to do all this is to tighten and optimize our gameplay in the future, improve our chances of winning events, and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. Without further ado, let's jump into our sideboard and our game plan. Today's game features my harmonized Kadachi list. If you would like to check that list out on FaB or try it for yourself on Talishar, you can find the deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. It is the best free way to support me and make sure you are seeing daily FaB content in your video feed 5 days a week. We have won the die roll and we are going to choose to go second. That is an easy way to make sure that we get tempo against Bravo. There is a chance that he high rolls us turn 0 with a dominated Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, or Starstruck. This is a chance that we have to take. Those are very specific hands that Bravo needs to draw, and if he does not draw them, then we get an early lead by having the first attack on Bravo's life total or hand size. As far as sideboarding goes, we are not going to change anything about our equipment. We want to be on a Kadachi Mask Momentum game plan here, as that will let us strip Bravo's armor fairly quickly before we start attacking his hand directly. If he is having to block Phoenix Flames and Kadachis with cards from hand, that is a terrible value for him, and it inhibits his ability to dominate or pummel his attacks. Flamescale Furnace is essential for blocking powerful disruptive on-hits, and 2 extra life in this matchup is very helpful. Because Bravo does not deal arcane damage, we do not need Arcane Barrier or Spell Void. As far as the 60 cards in the deck, the first thing we are going to do is board out our Art of Wars, and we are going to board in our defense reactions. We are going up to 62 cards here. This is a slight consideration for Bravo's fatigue plan. If Bravo is running Titan's Fist and Steel Braid Buckler, it is more likely that he is going to try to run us out of cards over the course of the game, rather than kill us through strong, dominated attacks. If you know for a fact that your Bravo opponent likes to play Anathos and you think that he is more likely to just hit you real hard, you may want to go down to 60 cards to have a better chance of drawing your defense reactions. I am not 100% sure what I would board out in this matchup. My first inclination is Double Strike, but Double Strike is very strong for triggering Mask of Momentum or as a finisher late in the game if you and Bravo are both at 1 life and trading your 2 cards to his 1 card. Double Strike is a great way to strip Bravo's hand when paired with a blue to attack with Kadachi twice. If you are strictly a 60 card gamer, let me know in the comments what you have been boarding out against your Bravo opponents, because I'm very curious. Boarding out Art of War, though, is very obvious. I think that is 100% correct into Bravo, and running Art of War is extremely risky. It is very rare that Bravo is going to give us a 5-card hand. All of his attacks present some sort of on-hit that messes with an Art of War turn, be it Chokeslam, preventing our attacks from gaining power, Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, and Starstruck either prevent us from attacking with a full hand or inhibit us from attacking at all. And it is very rare that we are going to be able to pressure Bravo off of anything other than a hammer attack. Art of War doesn't block. Art of War has the potential to rot in our arsenal until we have to play it defensively or it gets killed by a Command and Conquer. Overall, it is a hindrance more than a helper, and we are better off completely abandoning our 5-card Art of War plan and stick to more of a tempo plan, utilizing the power of our 2 and 3 card hands. If you can get a 4-card hand in this matchup, that is usually enough to get the life lead on Bravo and take away all of his tempo. General game plan tips, in addition to what I just said, are stick to your guaranteed Kodachi sequencing. Your 3-1-4s, your 1-1-4s, your 4-1-1-1. We want to attack Bravo's hand when possible. Getting the armor is necessary. It is something that is going to happen whether you want it to or not, but we really need to be pressuring Bravo's hand. So your Mask of Momentum triggers that come on 4 power attacks and even 3 power attacks are usually enough to get a card from Bravo's hand. If we take Bravo off of 5 cards or even 4 cards, the chance that he is pummeling his big attacks or dominating his big crush effects goes way down. And as soon as you can block the crush effect of a Spinal Crush or a Starstruck, your chances for victory go way up, especially if the cards that you kept are a blue for your Kodachis and something like a Mounting Anger, a Bittering Thorns, a Ravenous Rabble, or even a Blaze Headlong without Go Again to get a card into your arsenal. As far as arsenaling attacks is concerned, I generally don't like to do it against Guardian to play around Command and Conquer. Command and Conquer is just something that they usually seem to have at the worst possible time. So if we take power away from the Command and Conquer, that is only good for us. And because we are on a Kodachi plan, we are generally able to threaten a Mask of Momentum trigger with just 2 cards. So even if we're giving cards on defense or giving cards up to Crippling Crush or a Pummel, we can still maintain our game plan much better than if we were on Emberblade and Mask of Momentum. Refusing to stick anything in Arsenal is just a great way of blanking the power of one of Bravo's more ubiquitous effects. And until you see all 3 Command and Conquers in his graveyard, or you are able to put him down to a 1-card hand, I recommend not arsenaling. We play hand to hand, we outvalue Bravo, and as soon as we get him low enough and he is forced to start blocking from hand, we can look to close out the game. You know the sideboard, you know the game plan, let's jump into the game and see how it all comes together. Phoenix Flame goes to discard, and having put Bravo on the play, he is going to go first. Our hand is pretty dumpy here, so we are happy to block this Titan's Fist. As far as cards we want to keep, I am looking at keeping Salt the Wound and Snatch. Salt the Wound can pay for 2 Kodachis if we need it to. It will also go back into our deck. And if this game goes long, then having a finisher come up late can be very, very helpful. Keeping Snatch as well gives us a powerful finisher that lets us set up an arsenal if the Bravo lets it hit. It is a way to utilize our Snapdragon Scalers if we need to. So let's block with Lava Vein Loyalty and Snatch. That is going to open up possibilities to draw into a Draconic Starter, which is really what we need here. Bravo just passing over to us. We draw into really not a good hand. Looking at Kodachi, E-Strike 5, I'm choosing to go again here and bottoming the Lava Burst. That will likely get 2 cards from Bravo, either a card from hand and armor, or 3 pieces of armor if Bravo is really committed to this hand. After the E-Strike is blocked, we can follow up with a Snatch to get more armor from Bravo. We are not leaving anything in our arsenal that could get CNC'd, and we are very quickly wearing through Bravo's armor. Something I do want to point out is that our Bravo is using Civic Steps. Civic Steps is a new piece of equipment from the Round the Table UPF product. It is very good. 2 with Temper. It does give us a Quicken when it defends, which can be very good for us, but there is also a chance that the Quicken comes at a very poor time, and good Bravo players are going to be skilled at choosing their moments to block with Civic Steps so that the Quicken gets burned up by a natural go-again attack or at Kodachi or something that really just doesn't benefit us. So we'll see if our Bravo uses it correctly here. Coming in with our 2 Kodachis first. Bravo wisely choosing not to block, and we follow up with the E-Strike and giving it go again. Bravo here blocking with the Civic Steps, giving us the Quicken token, and playing out the Fate for Scene. So we see the first D-React from Bravo. Our Snatch is going to come in for 4 with Go Again. If it does happen to hit and we draw into a Lava Burst or a Salt the Wound or another Snatch, that is great news for us. Instead, it does eat a second D-React. And while we really would have liked the Snatch to hit here, I don't mind seeing 2 D-Reacts early. We draw into a pretty solid hand. We can also block for 7 with Soul Beat Strike and Reinforce the Line if we needed to. If Bravo was going to dominate something and we really wanted to prevent the crush effect. Instead, we are just going to take 4 here. Sequencing with this hand looks a little strange, and I'll admit that I didn't catch the line at first, but what we're going to do here is play Rising Resentment, follow that with a Kodachi, then follow that with a Phoenix Flame. And there are 2 reasons to do this. The first is that our Phoenix Flame is now a mask trigger if the Rising Resentment goes through, and Phoenix Flame is the first half of Shuko, which lets our Lava Burst come in for 6. And the reason we want to sequence it this way instead of something like Rising Resentment, Kodachi, Lava Burst, is that we already have a Reinforce the Line to put into our arsenal. So triggering Mask of Momentum is not super impactful here, and it really is just overkill. So where I would normally be looking at a hand like this and saying the sequencing is Rising Resentment first, hopefully beta block from Bravo, then Kodachi, Lava Burst, a floating resource to pick up an arsenal of Phoenix Flame if we need it. I'm saying here the actual correct line is just to get cards from Bravo and not really try to force a Mask of Momentum trigger. So we do attack with the Rising Resentment, and we see that Bravo doesn't block it, which is interesting. For a hero with 5 cards in hand and almost a full suite of armor, it seems like he is setting up for a big turn, which is perfect for us having this Reinforce the Line in Arsenal. We are going to be able to get around Command and Conquer. We can block, depending on whether we see the 3 block or not, we can block 9 if it is a dominated Starstruck or Crippling Crush. We do get a defense reaction out of Bravo, and he does use the Civic Steps in such a way that the Quicken really doesn't help us. But we'll see what he's going to do on his turn. Drawing into a Sink Below here as well just puts us in kind of a weird position. Here, Cranial Crush is coming in for 8. If this hits and triggers the crush effect, we won't be able to draw cards on our turn. I want to draw cards on our turn, though. Drawing cards is really, really good for us, and it's our whole game plan. So I'm looking to use this Sink Below here rather than the Reinforce the Line, because if we do use Reinforce the Line here, then our turn is really not looking as good as if we keep Lava Vein Loyalty, Bittering Thorns, and Brand with Cinderclaw. So we can block this Cranial Crush with Sink Below and Flamescale Furnace. I am not looking to bottom any of these cards. This is a pretty good looking hand. So we give the furnace, we're passing to reactions for the sink below. Bravo, of course, has no floating resources, so no pummel. Even a lunging press is not going to let the crush effect go through. Let's think about how we want to sequence this hand. With Bravo having almost full armor, Brand, Kodachi, Phoenix Flame is not likely to hit. I want to lead with Bittering Thorns here, then follow that with Brand, Kodachi, Phoenix Flame. I'm not expecting to trigger Mask of Momentum at this point in the game. We just want to eat through Bravo's armor. So Bittering Thorns potentially getting 2 pieces of armor and a Shukoed Phoenix Flame getting a 3rd is strong. We're taking those onboard 2 blocks away from Bravo. The onboard 1 blocks are a lot less impactful, and we still have our Reinforce the Line. So if Bravo wants to keep this 5-card hand and give us armor to stop our mask trigger, we can still deal with whatever he's going to throw at us, and then strike back with a 3-card hand. Bravo does give us a full card to stop that Phoenix Flame. We draw into a Fate Foreseen here, which does not pair well at all with our Reinforce the Line. Bravo coming in with a dominated Spinal Crush. If we want to block this out so that we still get a turn cycle and can still try to threaten Mask of Momentum, we can block this with our Blaze Headlong and Reinforce the Line that. On our turn, we Brand, Kodachi, Phoenix Flame. Really, again, not expecting to trigger Mask of Momentum, but because we have this Fate Foreseen, we don't need to, and that isn't our priority. If we didn't have the Fate Foreseen, I would block this with the Brand with Cinderclaw and Reinforce the Line, then throw Kodachi, Blaze Headlong to get a little more armor from Bravo. Deal the same amount of damage, we just don't have that natural go again, in case Bravo doesn't block the attack. He has no reason not to block the attack, but in other situations, maybe he would let the Phoenix Flame go through. And now if we draw into something like a Lava Burst, we have the action point to play it. We just get a little bit of damage on Bravo. He does give us the last half of his Steel Braid Buckler to block our Phoenix Flame. Bravo coming in with a blue Chokeslam, floating to energy, and keeping 2 cards in hand. We can smell the pummel here from a mile away. What we can avoid is the crush effect of Chokeslam. If we wanted to block this out in its entirety, we could. We could block for 6 with our 2 blues, then Fate Foreseen the Spinal Crush, then Fate Foreseen the pummel if it is there. But that's really committing a lot, and I don't think we need to do that. What I want to do here is block this Chokeslam with Warmonger's Diplomacy. In some world where Bravo doesn't have the pummel, then we avoid the hit effect from the Chokeslam and can deal a fair bit of damage back to Bravo. But if Bravo does have the pummel, we can Fate Foreseen from Arsenal. We still need to discard to pummel. We'll take 3 points of damage, but we avoid the crush effect from Chokeslam and can E-strike for 7 after our discard. I don't block this attack in the past. I think this is just wrong. The Chokeslam effect is not super devastating. And we're following up here with the Fate Foreseen, which I think is just incorrect. I think this entire turn was played poorly by me. If I wasn't going to block the Chokeslam with a 3-block, then I should have also kept the Fate Foreseen. Because we discard a card here, we can still Kodachi E-strike for 5, draw a card. Because we are now crushed, we can't E-strike for 7. And we see that there's a breaking point on the top of our deck, and we'll get into why I agree with keeping it there. But I think I would have rather just gotten value out of my cards in hand, out of the 3 block from that Warmonger's Diplomacy, and out of the Fate Foreseen. Fate Foreseen here just doesn't do anything. Fate Foreseen prevents 4, but now we don't have a D-React in our arsenal, and we know that we aren't going to draw into one if we draw a card with E-Strike, so I think this was just wrong. I think that is just an incorrect line. But we will get to Kodachi, E-Strike 5. Draw a card. We can snap the E-Strike and play out the breaking point that we're going to draw. Attacking with Kodachi is less damage than attacking with Double Strike, because Double Strike triggers its own Shugo, but we are putting a Double Strike back into our deck just in case we get to that point in this game, if Bravo is trying to fatigue us through damage. Breaking Point here is the correct card to keep on top because Bravo aggressively blocked with his Crown of Providence. So if he can't crown away his arsenal and the card in arsenal isn't a defense reaction, then Breaking Point is a real threat. Bravo pitching away a red pummel to create a Seismic Surge is great news from us. We want Bravo to never be able to play another pummel in this game. He comes in with Hammer, and we are just going to take that damage. We're at parity right now, so 4 is not a huge threat to our life total. With the hand we have, we can send 6 attacks at Bravo, and he won't be able to block most of them with the armor that he has left. So we are going to get at least 2 cards from Bravo to stop our hit effects. And especially if he is using Sink Below on our 3 power attacks, this is just great value for us. So we'll follow this up with a Lava Vein Loyalty, Kodachi, Blaze Headlong, or not. I would have liked sending Lava Vein Loyalty here just to get another block from Bravo before we send in the Blaze Headlong, because Blaze Headlong here might just get, well, another defense reaction. But imagine if Bravo had used this Fate Foreseen on our Lava Vein Loyalty, if we had played that after the Ronin Renegade. Then he has to give armor and a card from hand to stop that Blaze Headlong triggering Mask Momentum. That's just better overall. We chew through Bravo's resources more effectively. This is why sequencing in Kodachi's is so critical, and matchup experience, knowing that Bravo really wants to stop those 3 power attacks because he can do so effectively. Chokeslam here coming in for 8. We have a Double Strike and a Lava Burst that will have the Rupture effect. Chokeslam here coming in for 8 between Double Strike and a 0-cost Go Again attack. We can trigger the Rupture on Lava Burst, and we really want to. So we are going to block this Chokeslam. We'll give the second half of our Furnace and a Sink Below to stop the Crush effect. We'll take 3 points of damage, then crack back for 11. Probably not going to trigger Mask Momentum here, but we are nearing the point of the game where Bravo is low enough on life that we are just taking 1 to 2 cards out of his hand every turn. We are in the just killing him phase of the game. Not low enough on life yet that we will just give Mask Momentum because Bravo would never let it trigger, but steadily approaching that point. Bravo likely to block this Rising Resentment. That's fine. We will follow it up with Lava Burst for 5. The number of times that Bravo has played a defense reaction to one of our 3 power attacks, I believe he has yet to get full value out of a defense reaction, which is really good news for us. And seeing him block with Starstruck is even better. Pitching a red into the Tectonic Plating and attacking with the Titan's Fist is fantastic. Between our 2 Draconic attacks, our blue and our Salt the Wound, we can go 6 links wide on this turn and get a Shuko trigger out of our Salt the Wound, so we are just going to take this 4 damage. Go down to 14 all. Let's think about how we want to sequence this turn. I still like leading with our head jabs. So if I'm playing this out now, the line is Ronin Renegade, Lava Vein Loyalty. Hopefully each of those eats a block from Bravo. Then we pitch to our Kodachis, Kodachi, Phoenix Flame for 1, which also probably gets armor, but because we are in that killing you part of the game, it just means that this Salt the Wound comes in for 5, and Bravo now has a real choice between going to what would at that point be 7, or giving us more cards from hand to hit us with the ineffective hammer and letting us keep a 4-card hand. Instead, we choose to lead with the Kodachis. There is some validity to this play, but I do think that Bravo is likely to block this Lava Vein Loyalty, which he does. So we get 2 cards from his hand, which we would have done had we led with the head jabs, but now Bravo has no incentive to block this Phoenix Flame, which he would have if it was a Mask of Momentum trigger. Bravo gives us the whole hand to stop Salt the Wound, forfeits his turn, and lets us draw back up. We draw into a pretty crummy hand when we don't have Flamescale Furnace. So what we will do here is just get maximum damage. We'll pitch our Breaking Point to play Mounting Anger. If the Mounting Anger hits, we can banish our Lava Vein Loyalty. Otherwise, it gets a defense reaction or a 3-block and armor. Then we play Lava Vein Loyalty. Then we play Snatch. I am not expecting any of them to hit. I think Mounting Anger and Snatch are both high priority blocks. Maybe the Lava Vein Loyalty gets through. But Bravo's been sitting on this card in Arsenal forever. It's possible that it is a Spinal Crush and he's just looking for 2 blues. I'm not sure. We get a Sigil, which effectively blocks the Lava Vein Loyalty damage, and Snatch gets full blocked. So while we aren't pushing damage this turn, we are running Bravo out of cards. He also is out of blocking equipment, so our Phoenix Flames threatening the mask triggers are going to get full cards out of Bravo's hand. And with what we have here, we can probably play out this entire hand, which we'll get to, but the point is we are not going to block this Titan's Fist. We will just go to 10. Sequencing here is interesting. We have 2 options available to us. We can either lead with this Rising Resentment, or we can try to banish the Bittering Thorns to the Rising Resentment. So either we are sequencing this turn like Rising Resentment, Brand with Cinderclaw, Ravenous Rabble, or we're sequencing it like Brand with Cinderclaw, Ravenous Rabble, Rising Resentment. If we are expecting Bravo to block our early attacks, we may think, well, if we throw Brand, it gets blocked. If we throw Rabble, it gets blocked. If we throw Rising Resentment, Bravo is still trying to keep cards. He's still trying to do something on his turn. Maybe it connects, but I don't really want to risk that. I think we're in a strong enough position that if we go 3-3-4, then attack with our Phoenix Flame and arsenal our Bittering Thorns, that is just going to set us up well enough to have a good next turn. I think we don't need to play super greedy with our Rising Resentment trigger. But you can see here that I'm going for it. Leading with the Brand, we will make our Ravenous Rabble Draconic. It does reveal a blue, so in hindsight, I feel better about not having it be the Mask of Momentum trigger. This Rising Resentment does go unblocked and does not eat a reaction, so we are going to get to banish and play our Bittering Thorns for free. It gets an unmovable from hand, which is really good value. And because we have our 3 Draconic Links, we can pick up our Phoenix Flame. I'm a fan of arsenaling it here. I'm choosing to play it. I don't believe that is correct. We aren't getting any real value from it. aside from just being a point of damage. If we were getting a Shuko trigger from it, then I would say yes, but otherwise, I just don't like the play. With a hand we have, we can trigger the Rupture on our breaking point, and Arsenal and E-Strike. We can also Kodachi, E-Strike for 5, go again, breaking point. There are a lot of ways we can use the breaking point, but if we had the Phoenix Flame, we would have just a few more options available to us. What I like doing here is leading with E-Strike for 5, go again. The sequencing I want is E-Strike, Kodachi, breaking point. I think this Bravo is going to give a lot of cards to defend the E-Strike. I think he is going to give 2 from hand, be it 2 3 blocks or another unmovable, which is going to open him up to getting hit by the breaking point. I think it is incorrect to E-Strike for 5 as the Mask of Momentum trigger, but we'll see how many cards Bravo wants to give on defense. There's an argument here for throwing the Ronin Renegade instead of the E-Strike and just keeping E-Strike for our arsenal. But we are just in the killing you part of the game. Let's throw damage. I just think the sequencing could have been better if we had led with our E-Strike. As it is, we get all 4 of Bravo's cards. We do deal a little bit of damage, so we are looking very good for winning this game. Sequencing here, we can keep this sink below. We can also pitch it, which is what I am leaning towards at this point. I like leading with Mounting Anger, pitching our Brand with Cinderclaw to play it out, then Kodachi for 1, pitch sink below to Kodachi for 1, and Ravenous Rabble as another mask trigger. But we'll see if Bravo wants to block this Mounting Anger. The point is, I don't want to Arsenal sink below. We have 14 effective life. We don't need sink below here. Bravo letting the Mounting Anger hit lets us banish the Ravenous Rabble. So Rabble hopefully coming in for 5. It does, revealing Blaze Headlong from the top of the deck. Bravo blocks 3, taking 2, triggering the Mask of Momentum, and Bravo here going to pack it in. This was not a particularly close game at the end of it, but I wanted to show it off as what good Bravo play looks like. We had the defense reaction available. I think we used defense reactions very well throughout this game as far as keeping tempo. We didn't sit on our defense reactions for too long, just looking for that dominated Starstruck or Crippling Crush. And while we didn't see a lot of action out of the Bravo, he didn't throw a lot of those big disruptive on-hits our way. We didn't fall into the trap of keeping our D-reacts and winding up with these hands of sink below, fate foreseen, reinforce the line in Arsenal, and now we can't apply pressure. So I do hope this game was helpful. I understand, and I've been a victim of the Bravos that just draw hot. I know that we can't always have the D-reacts all of the time. I know that seeing them spaced out the way we did is pretty lucky, but I do think this was a good example of how your Bravo games can go and what you're looking to do in this matchup. If you have any questions or feedback about this game or about anything FI related, my comments are always open. I love interacting with the little community that we've built here. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, or if you just like to see Bravos lose, then head jab that like button for me. Otherwise, I will see you all back here tomorrow for more daily FI gameplay. Have a nice day. Take care.